This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Scott Howell.
Hello, good neighbors, and welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast, brought to you by the Friends and Neighbors Group of the Greater Chattanooga region. Of course, my name is Scott Howell, and I'm your host for today. You know, a lot of people ask, what is the reason for the Good Neighbor Podcast? What's it all about? Well, we just desire to bring an awareness to people living in our communities regarding the locally owned and or operated businesses, you know, that are right up the street, right down the road, right across town. You know, locally owned businesses, they are the backbone of our community. And sometimes we forget that, you know. And we live in this microwave generation, you know, where we want conveniences and everything kind of handed to us. But local businesses, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have communities. We wouldn't have cities. So they need our support. They still need it today. So let's not forget about them. And that's what we're all about here. You know, every local business has a story to tell. And at the Good Neighbor Podcast, you know, we just want to help them shout it loud and proud so that all can hear. And, you know, today I have good news. We have one of our good neighbors with us. Her name is Lezli Lewis, and she's from the Carving Rock Kitchen, the owner over there. So, Lezli, we are so honored to have you as our special guest on the Good Neighbor Podcast today.
Well, thank you, Scott. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. You know, I have to admit, when I saw the Carving Rock Kitchen, I was like, this has got to be an interesting podcast coming up, because I don't know what in the world a Carving Rock Kitchen is.
Our name is quite unusual.
Probably just a really creative name, good for marketing. But you know, I'm looking forward to hearing about it. But before we jump into the business part of it, Lezli, I just want to give you a minute to just share anything with us about yourself and your family you'd like to.
Okay. I was a social worker by trade, and working in that field when I met my husband, and we lived in Huntsville, Alabama for about 15 years. We have 3 children, and we moved here a couple of years ago, and we found out about 8 years ago, I guess it's 9 now, that basically at least 2 of us were needing to go gluten-free strictly. Oh, wow. And so, so we all as a family just decided to go gluten-free, and have since discovered that we basically all need to be gluten-free and dairy-free. So there was, in Huntsville, we had a dedicated gluten-free space, and gluten it's really hard to kind of avoid, because even like just a crumb of gluten when you have celiac disease can just make you very, very sick. And so in a typical restaurant setting or bakery setting, especially, it's just really hard to avoid the cross-contamination. So really, like, kind of overnight, your options change drastically. So I'm the kind of person that I don't like to miss out on things. So I started figuring out how to make the things that I loved and my family loved, and make them gluten-free and dairy-free. And we had a place in Huntsville who offered that was a dedicated gluten-free place. Yeah. So I never really explored, you know, I stopped working in social work for a while and stayed home and homeschooled our kids. And then when we moved here, just realized that there was not a lot of options, a lot of safe options for the things that we missed. And so my friends who aren't even gluten-free and eat my food and loved it were like, well, you should just do it. So anyway, yes, I've morphed into a bakery owner now, and that was not really something I ever imagined I would do, but it's been great.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you a fun fact, okay? Huntsville, Alabama is my hometown.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I know all about Huntsville. But
yeah, we love it there.
Yeah, it's a great place. You know, and as far as being gluten-free, you know, that's a new world for me. I don't have that problem, or haven't had it yet, and haven't had the issues, you know, regarding eating gluten that I know of anyway. But you know, I was thinking about when you said that there's not a lot of dedicated places. You know, I've met a few. I know one restaurant that they're not totally dedicated, but I never thought about cross contamination. I know they strive to make something for everybody. You know, they try their best to have vegan and the vegan and gluten free and you know, but for us meat eaters too, you know, they like to have something for everybody. But so tell us a little bit about the Carving Rock Kitchen and how it helps. No pun intended. No, how it helps carve out that section of dietary needs that you're helping to provide.
Sure. Yeah. That was actually part of naming it that. And then also a poem on a piece of art from a friend of mine. Naming a business is hard to find something that's not already in use or that the Google page is not gone, all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just wanted to create a safe space for a lot of the things that if someone's not a baker, or is not used to baking or doesn't have time to bake at home. I mean, I would have customers come in that haven't had a biscuit or a cinnamon roll in years since they were kids and just like in tears. So I just saw that was a missing piece here in Chattanooga. There were several cottage bakers around, the Good Food Bakery, the Better Bakery, and the Snacking Hour. I've become friends with all of them, and they were doing things at the markets. And so that's where I started, and I started doing some slightly different things because a lot of the things they offered either weren't dairy free or I was just offering different things like the cinnamon rolls and pretzels. And so started out at the Brainerd Farmers Market, which is near where we live, and just got an overwhelming response from a lot of people like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Even the gluten-free, even people who aren't gluten-free were like, how is this gluten-free? And so I really wasn't planning on doing it much more than just a side gig at the market at first, but knowing that that we were wanting somewhere to go eat, that was completely safe. And that was something that wasn't being offered here yet. There was a building in our neighborhood that used to be a vegan place. And I noticed that they were going out of business because I followed them. And so I had contacted that building owner just to kind of get, just find out like, hey, if you're going to be working on the building for a while, maybe making it something else, like, could I rent just the kitchen? Yeah. Because a lot of food businesses, it's really difficult for food businesses because you can't just go get a loan at the bank, like to start a food business, because nobody wants to finance them. They're very easy to fail, they're very likely to fail. And so the financing for it is very hard, but the things that they've created to help that is what's called like incubator kitchens or commissary kitchens, where you can, like the kitchen incubator is over in Brainerd. So I did try to figure out how to make that work, but it's like a restaurant. It's a shared space. It's a shared kitchen. And even convection ovens can, blow around the particles of the gluten and not be safe. So I wasn't able to utilize that resource. And so I just thought if I could just get access to a kitchen that I could certify, because there's only certain things, I could only sell shelf-stable cottage food items at the market, and I wanted to do more. And so I contacted him to see if I could maybe just rent the kitchen from him, the kitchen part, if he was going to do something else. And at first it seemed like it was going to work out, and he wanted to do some music nights for the community, and he was thinking of bringing some other people in to kind of share the load, because I was very honest with him, I can't afford, to rent a whole space right now, just starting out. And so we tried to work together, and for a while I've actually partnered with the Snacking Hour. She came on to make the biscuits, and there was another couple from my neighborhood that was going to basically kind of manage and run like a coffee shop kind of thing. He had an espresso machine in there. So I was basically just going to provide, their cafe with baked goods as I was able, and whatever we have for the day, and then just kind of update people online and let them know, hey, we've got cinnamon rolls today, go over and get you some. And so that was kind of the model that started out, and it just morphed very quickly because the guy who was going to run the cafe side of things had to drop out. And so then I had kind of already geared up the gluten-free community to expect kind of to have a gluten-free cafe. And so I just am the kind of person, I'm well, I guess I'll just do it. I'll just do it myself. So we just kind of figured it out. And it lasted about 7 weeks there. And then the building was having major plumbing issues. And we were just having some issues with the landlord, not, meeting the expectations of fixing it and just other things. So, we had to close after 7 weeks of opening.
Oh, no.
And it was a lot. So, we had to close abruptly and just unexpectedly. So we were open for 7 weeks. And then at that point, we didn't really know what to do because we had, just paid for all the certifications, all the things. And we had not been open long enough to to get enough revenue or income to really like relocate. It's insane. So but we had a small following, and so we tried a Kickstarter and didn't really have any idea how to do that either. We just figured it out as we went along. Because so we did it for $10,000 and we met it, just barely. We met it. And, that was enough. I mean, we thought that was enough to get us relocated. It took a while. We closed in October and we opened here on MLK in April, of this year. So it was quite the journey.
It sounds like it. Wow. That's a lot to have to do in the first 2 months of being in business, right? That's a lot.
Yes, it was quite, did not expect it, but we made it through. So,
yeah. So did reaching out to other people in the community who were already kind of involved in somewhat of the same journey you were wanting to do, did you find that helpful to you?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, I would have quit if it weren't for the amazing other people in this community. Like when I had taken a few small business courses from Hive Think Media, and it's founded by some of the guys behind Be Caffeinated, and just got to know those guys, and they're just really amazing. And one of them is the friend who Michael Lardzabal, who painted the painting that houses the poem with our name in it. Yeah. And they were just really great. They were very supportive. When they found out that that my cafe partner had dropped out, they just donated a bunch of coffee to get us started. And I was able to find another, my beverage partner now, and Walter Brews, who she'd been a barista for years and wanted to create her own like kava bar in the future. And so we kind of partnered together, and she's growing her own business here. And so she came in and started and did the drink. So we still kind of delivered on what we had promised. It just looked a lot different than we, and it ended up being a whole lot more responsibility on me than I was prepared to handle. But like I said, friends came through. Another local business partner, owner of Hearty Bites Chai, and Antonio, he came by one day he also owns Cha Cha Masala Chai, and he came by one day to see if we wanted to purchase his chai, which we did. It's amazing. And he noticed like we were just got to talking and figured out that he actually knew my brother, worked with him for years. And so he just kept checking in on us, found out that our grinder had broken, and it was owned by the landlord, and he hadn't fixed it. And so he just brought me a grinder to use as like, wow. As long as I need it. I'm actually still using one of his mixers because my big mixer has a broken part. And so just, I would not have made it to this point if it weren't for the other good neighbors in our community.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear so many times is somebody moves to this area and they're just amazed at the community that there is among a lot of the business owners. I hear that so often. And when you mentioned a while ago, I know you didn't mention her name, but you mentioned her business name. My buddy Shantae and her husband from Down Under.
Okay, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned them a while ago.
Yes. Well, she's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you've shared with us so much in just a short few minutes we've been talking here. Can I step outside the business for a moment? You said you and your husband have 3 children?
We do.
They're all still living at home, I guess?
Yes. They're 5, 9, and 11.
5, 9. I figured they were young, but I didn't want to just put that out there. But so what do y'all do for fun when you're not working? Now that you're at the place called Chattanooga, Tennessee, and while I'm a Huntsville fan, I'm sure enough a Chattanooga fan. So
yes.
Beautiful area here. What do y'all do for fun?
Yes, we love it. We spent the first year we lived here and just kind of took it slow and like just, explored all the things and got all the places. And it was a really fun time. And we still like to do that. We like to walk the bridge, be outside during the summers. Right now they're in a summer swim team. So that's a super busy month, but it's really fun for them and great just team, activity. And we love that. And we love getting outside. It's just, I feel the most home in nature, and it's a great place, city to live in, city in a park, kind of like they say. It's a great place to live in if you want to be in nature.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to get out as much as we can. We love to go to like Saudi Gulf and places like that. So yeah, we've instituted a few like non-negotiable things now that I've started this, because for years, I worked at home, and I did tutor at their homeschool co-op and do another few little things here and there. But it was a big adjustment for me to start working like this a lot. So we have tried to really take care, because as a social worker, I'm passionate about mental health and all the things. And so we have a lot of non-negotiables, like, Wednesday night's my self-care night. Tuesday night's my husband's self-care night. Wednesday is my day with the children. And so because of that, we aren't open like 7 days a week, like a typical, cafe. But the gluten-free community has just been amazing. They know, they understand, that I'm just trying to fill a void, and they're happy with what we can offer. So
yeah, absolutely. So tell us about some of the items that you offer. You said you're a bakery, but then you mentioned a while ago some other things. So tell us about, do you have breakfast?
We do. That's kind of like the main focus, since that I felt like was the biggest kind of, hole in offerings for gluten-free. I try to do my best to offer the things that are hard to find. So while you can find some things at other restaurants, like Bantam and Biddy has like some breakfast items, but like biscuits are a thing you really can't find gluten-free anywhere around here. Just like to go in. There are, like I said, some of the cottage bakers, they offer biscuits, but to go in and like order a biscuit sandwich, that's kind of the experience that I wanted to provide, because it's something that I've missed for years. I remember when I was, pregnant with one of our kids, and I would just go through McDonald's every day, and get the bacon, egg, and cheese. That was like my favorite thing. And you just don't realize like your whole world turns over. You just can't. There's so many things you can't do. And so I just wanted to provide that experience of just being able to go in and order and like know that it was going to be safe, and not have to ask a million questions like we do at normal restaurants. So we have biscuits, sandwiches, and we have cinnamon rolls. Or those are kind of like our two main things that I try to that people come in here to expect, is the breakfast sandwiches and the cinnamon rolls. We do still sell out some days before close, but because right now I'm still doing the majority of the baking myself, and so I'm working on training up some of our staff so we can kind of have a little bit more stock available each day. But yeah, those are our two main things. When I can, I'll add on other things like quiche with crust, and we do have like a lot of add-ons. Like we have a fried chicken add-on. It's not made in-house, because we call ourselves a micro bakery, because it is a smaller space. And the peach cobbler who was here before, I think they had like a production kitchen, and a lot of things were shipped in. So it's not really set up to be like a typical huge, production bakery. But it works for us right now. So we do that. And what else have I should have probably looked at my menu. I'm blanking here, but
what are your hours?
So right now our hours are Fridays and Mondays we're open 8 to 1. And then Saturday and Sundays we're open 10 to 2. So kind of just that little weekend chunk with Friday and Monday in there.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is when you're open. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Well, that's great. And then, so since you're open till 1 some days, I guess you do some things for lunch too, right?
Well, it's not really.
Okay.
People still come in and get the biscuits and the cinnamon rolls. I do have, we have, some days we'll have bagels and pretzels. So I try to offer those. I am trying to offer those. The pretzels are going to be on the menu every day in July. I'm going to make a priority of that, because it is part of the Vegan Chef Challenge that's going on in July. I was asked to participate in, so I came up with a few new. I came up with a new dip for our pretzels, a cashew cheese dip for our pretzels, and then a few new vegan items. So I'm going to have the pretzels on the menu all month. At the other location, the kitchen was a bit bigger, and I did have a bigger staff over there. So we're offering kind of like sandwiches. We had like a deli cabinet where we could make the sandwiches and stuff. And then we would offer sandwiches and soups, but we haven't been able to reinstitute that here just yet, because the bigger the menu, the more kind of craziness happens in the kitchen. And so there's already days when there's like, kind of, it's a pretty long wait some days when we get really busy and get a rush. because we are just still kind of recovering from the situation, the first situation, our first location. So I'm not able to just kind of like, hire all the staff. And really, like I said, it's very small back there. So 2 people max is about all they can fit in that kitchen at a time. And
Well,
so
Leslie, I think maybe you're putting yourself down a little bit, because it sounds like you're doing an amazing job. If, people, I don't know what percentage of the population, that either need or want to eat gluten-free. I know I'm hearing more and more vegans out there, hearing more and more of that kind of dietary, but I don't know what percentage, but it sounds like the people that need it and want it know you're there. And they come in and they appreciate what you've got and what you're doing. Sounds like to me you're doing a fantastic job. So,
well, thank you.
I like to ask everybody this question. To me, it's just, I like for you to speak to the heart of the business, not what's on the menu, but to the heart of the business. If there was one thing that you wish that our listeners knew about Lezli Lewis and the Carving Rock Kitchen, but they probably wouldn't know it unless you shared it with them, and you like to share it loud and proud here today on the Good Neighbor podcast, what would that be?
Let's see. Well, I guess mainly that, like, this is not a typical business, and it's not something I set out to do. Like, I didn't set out to grow a business. I guess an example, like yesterday, we had a first little rush when we came in, and there's a window to the kitchen. So I was back there, preparing the food, and I hear some of our regulars, 2 of our regulars were in, and one of them has just recently became gluten-free. And he was, got to talking to one of the other regulars, and a couple or family that was in from out of town. And I heard them like talking about tips, and like she was sharing with him, like, hey, did you know Play-Doh's gluten-free, or Play-Doh's made of wheat, and he was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. My kids just had it on the table the other night. And so like they were just sharing all these little tidbits and talking. It was just, that's why I do this. And I know that sometimes, the wait is long, and sometimes we don't have what you want, but yeah, I do it because I know that the gluten-free community needs this, and it's so important to them and so valuable. And because food is essential to life, and it's so nostalgic. It's like our sense of smell that's it's close to your brain, and the taste too it's like it brings back memories, and it's just such an essential, important part of life. And people that aren't that don't have food allergies or celiac disease don't understand like the enjoyment that is taken away from the experience of eating out and enjoying food over a table with friends and family, when you have to constantly be vigilant about, okay, can you please make sure that you talk to the manager and talk to the chef, and, is this gluten-free, and is there any sauces? There's so much. I mean, you can't even go to the grocery store. Yeah. And just like throw things in the cart. You have to like look at the labels. And even then sometimes it's very convoluted. So I just wanted to like carve out, like you said, this small little spot, in Chattanooga, for people to be able to just come and just like, like I almost named it Exhale Kitchen at one time, but that sounded a little too like a smoke shop, somebody said. So I was like, okay, but just like to be able to breathe, like just sit in and just like, I can just eat, I can just eat and not worry. So
I can't imagine. I mean, I have my own issues. I don't think food allergy is one of them, unless I haven't discovered it yet. But I have my own, physical problems and things that I have to watch, that I can't overdo or can't do at all. But I can't imagine not just being able to sit down and worry, So I admire what you're doing and what you're doing for other people. I admire that. I'm glad that people that do have those food allergies know there's places they can go and still be able to enjoy food and not have to worry about it. I'm really happy for you, them, and you yourself. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you for providing that for the community.
Yes, absolutely.
And I want to give you a moment here to just kind of share with everyone regarding your how they can find out more about you, or how they can where they can find you at, whether online or offline, how to contact you. Please just share with everybody.
Yeah, sure. Well, I probably stay the most out of all the the social media platforms. I stay the most active on Instagram, and then Facebook. Everything kind of automatically post over there to Facebook, but we do post our menu because it does change slightly from day to day. Like I said, I do try to have the biscuits and the cinnamon rolls on the regular. But sometimes we're out of different toppings and things like that. So Instagram stories is where I post our menu each day. And I will try to post if we sell out early and close, or if we run out of something, I'll try to post if we're not just super slammed. But yeah, so Instagram is a great place to follow us. If you don't do social media, we do have a newsletter on our website, a link to that. Our website is carvingrock.kitchen. And we do have a newsletter sign up there, but I don't only periodically get those out right now because I'm just kind of, like a one-woman show still mainly. I mean, other than my staff that help me in the house, all the admin stuff is me right now. And my husband helps too. But so yeah, it's the newsletter is okay to go on there, and the website, I try to keep that updated. It hadn't been updated for a while, but I finally just updated it a little better. And then how else will we see? That's probably, I do try to keep our Google page updated too. Like our hours are updated on there and all the information. Yeah. We do tell people they can call us if they want to check, if they're on their way in and they want to check if we have something. And it's our number's 423-287-6337.
Okay. What about your address?
Yeah. What
about your address?
Oh, our address. Yes. It's 301 East MLK Boulevard. And we are in between Grassroots and Modus Build in a little brick building right here across from the big, huge AT&T mural painted building. And the peach cobbler sign is actually still up on the building. That's another one of those small business things I didn't really think about. We had a sign at our other building, but everything, you have to pay for the permits all again and everything. And so it's just not something we had been able to prioritize yet, and didn't really think about them not taking it with them.
Well, actually, maybe it's a sign that you need to come up with a gluten-free vegan peach cobbler.
I actually just did. Yes, that's on the. Yeah, a few people do come in sometimes expecting peach cobbler. I was like, I just need to make it. So that was one of the new vegan chef challenge menu items. So we now have peach cobblers.
There you go. There's no sense taking the sign down now.
Yeah.
It just fits, right? Home of the peach cobbler. Right? There you go.
Yeah, that is hard. You can't really find gluten-free cobbler either, so it works.
It's been a pleasure having you on the program with us today on our show and learning more about you and what you do. And thank you for what you're doing for the community, especially those people that do suffer from those food allergies, and then those that just want to change their dietary habits. I know they're glad to know you're out there. And hey, all you listeners out there, you can finally get a gluten-free biscuit. Good news, right? Thank you for being with us today, Lezli. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's been a pleasure being here.
Yes, absolutely. And all the good neighbors of the greater Chattanooga region out there, after meeting Lezli and learning more about the Carving Rock Kitchen, I know that, she really hopes that you'll come by one weekend, some Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or maybe all four, and stop by and get you a biscuit or a peach cobbler, or I believe you said a cinnamon roll. Was that right, Lezli?
Yes, cinnamon roll.
Stop by and get a cinnamon roll if you've never had one, and it was gluten free. And we might all be surprised. I don't know that I've ever had one that I knew that was. So, but I'm going to be trying one soon.
Thank you.
So let's all go by there and support them and do all we can to try to help them, especially if you have those dietary needs. There's another place that you can go that provides those types of things you need in a very safe environment, that you don't have to worry about what's going to happen to you, to your your allergies after you get through eating. So one more place that you can mark down on your list. And before ending this episode, I'd like to thank you all the listeners for taking the time out of your day and spending time with us at the Good Neighbor Podcast. And I always say this, but always remember to support the locally owned and operated businesses in the greater Chattanooga region. And that's from Cleveland to Dalton, from Jasper to Benton. All the small businesses and all the small communities in between are very important to our whole area. So this is Scott Howell with the Friends and Neighbors Group. Everyone go out and make this a remarkable day.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpcleveland.com. That's gnpcleveland.com or call 423-380-1984.